Welcome to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainierbooks. I'm a German booktuber in Sweden, booktubing about books in English. And today I want to refresh my segment. I've read something that I haven't made a video in for about a couple of months, I guess. A single review about a book that I've read. And today I have finished, yesterday actually, I finished maybe the best book that I read so far in 2021. I finished How Beautiful We Were by Imbolo Mbue. Imbolo Mbue is, I think she's 39 or 40 years old, born in 1981, if I remember it right, in a place in a city at the beach and a city at the coast of Cameroon in Western Africa. And I don't know so much about her childhood, about her young years, but she came to the United States with a scholarship because she was a very good student, and she has stayed in the United States and she lives currently in New York City. And in the year of 2000, let me look, in the year of 2016, she published her debut novel, Behold the Dreamers, about Cameroonian immigrant in New York City, 2007. A marvelous debut, as deeply insightful as it is delightfully entertaining, said Taye Selassie. And this book gave Imbolo Mbue $1 million contract. She got a $1 million contract before the book was published. So she was is a very promising author. And now she has delivered her second book, which was actually coming out last year already, but came out this year for the reasons that everybody knows have delayed many books recently. The so-called pandemic, no, not the so-called, the pandemic has delayed many books for publishers. So it was ready last year, I guess, but it was published this year. And this is How Beautiful We Were by Imbolo Mbue. And I want to give you a single review about this book, so let's finally get this video started. So I think there are books, I thought about this book when I finished it yesterday, and there are books that are really good reads. You like them, you give them 4 stars, 3.5, 4.5, I don't know. And you think this is really good writing, good story, and they end up somewhere in your memory, but not always in the front row. It's not always a book that you have the direct feeling in your gut that this is a book that's going to resonate with you a long, long time to come. I came to the point, having read approximately 150, 170 pages of this novel, when I finally realized, wow, this is a 5-star novel, and this is a book that's going to resonate with me a long time. This stays sort of in the front row of my bookish memory of 2021. What a novel. What is this about? This is about Africa. This is about a village in Africa. It's about a village called Cassava. It's about a village that doesn't exist on the map, on the real map of the African continent. We don't even know in which region, in which area of Africa it is. But since an oil company is involved, it's called Paxton's, doesn't exist either. It's a fictitious American company. Since an American oil company is involved drilling and mining oil in Africa, destroying the soil, destroying the water, poisoning the life surroundings of hundreds of thousands of people, we can guess that this country is somewhere on the western part of the continent, because that's where companies have found oil in Africa. Countries like Nigeria, of course, countries like Cameroon, the native country of Imbolo Mbue, countries like Liberia and south to Angola. Along the coast, they have found oil. And somewhere this country is situated, but it's not Cameroon in this case, it's Cassava. Cassava is the village. There's a provincial capital called Lacunja, and there's the capital of the country called Bezam. And there are the villagers. And the villagers are telling the story of how beautiful we were. And look how beautiful this cover is. Take a look. How beautiful we were is a we story, as the first person plural already suggests in the title. We were beautiful. Look at how beautiful we were and how our life was back in the days. Because now this novel spans a time span of 40 years, from 1980 to 2020. 40 years. That's a long time in the life of a human person. That's a long time in the life of a generation. And in Africa, in Western Africa, today, it is the largest part of the life expectancy of people. I looked up the life expectancy of people in Nigeria yesterday, curious as I was, and I found it's somewhere around 54, 55 years. So it's a long time, and this book is narrated by the villagers of Kosava, by different villagers, by the children. The children is a narrating group of individuals, both girls and boys, who grow up together with a girl named Tula. Tula is sort of the central figure of the books. Tula has some similarities with Imbolo Mbue, because as there's one similarity in the CV of both ladies. And the similarity is that both Imbolo Mbue and Tula read a lot when they were children and young adults, and both of them got a scholarship in the United States. Imbolo stayed in the US, but Tula came back to Africa. Tula is the daughter of Sahel, and she has, of course, some siblings. The women, they have lots of kids. The women, it's a fascinating story how it's narrated by the children, which are the contemporaries of Tula, and by family members of Tula herself. And Tula herself is also narrating at least one or two chapters, and then she sort of speaks to us in a bunch of letters that she's writing to the children. Actually, it's a super sad story about poisoning the earth, about exploiting post-colonialism at its worst. You can say the earth is sort of, the Americans take all the richness, all the wealth from the earth to export it to their country, to use the oil, poisoning the earth, destroying the water, and giving not much of that children die, that people get sick and die that the air is polluted, and that the former beautiful village is sort of turning into a living hell. It's that community of the village that is at the core of the book, that is so strong, how beautiful these people connected with each other. This is much in the story, and Tula, who's the leading star, goes to America, has a great education, and she only wants to educate herself to know more and more and more, to be able to come back and to fight against Paxton and against His Excellency, the dictator that is ruling her country. And there are people dying, not only of polluted air, but also of soldiers coming to the village and killing people in a massacre. But the voices that Imbolo Mbue is voicing here, is giving life to, the characters, they are so beautiful, crafted. And Jonathan Franzen has this blurb where he says on the cover of the book, a formidable storyteller. What a great blurb, because Imbolo Mbue is one of the greatest storytellers that I have read recently, really. She has built this so beautifully, and I really love it. Jacqueline Woodson, I'll give you another blurb before I talk a little bit more about my own impression of the book. Jacqueline Woodson says, Imbolo Mbue's writing is startlingly beautiful, thoughtful, and both timely and timeless. She recreates, I have never been in an African village, but she sort of builds this, my image of an African village is now forever being built by Imbolo Mbue. And of the people there that she has given life to. I want to create her mother, Tula's mother, who is a very simple woman, Sahel, has only seen her village in her life. Her husband dies a very early death as he's killed by the Paxton people or by His Excellency's people. Sahel, the mother, has a very beautiful voice in this book, and that's actually where this book turned for me. This turned for me from a 4 into a 5-star read, where I thought this creation of Sahel is so strong that I really love this. She's worrying about her daughter who reads so many books, who's so different than she is, so different from all the other girls. Whenever I happened upon her and her friends sitting somewhere in the village, I lingered for a bit to hear if she would laugh, and if she did, 1,000 bountiful harvests wouldn't have made me happier. Without my asking, she started coming to sit by me in the kitchen to help me cook. On days when Yaya needed extra attention because she was having a very bad day, perhaps because one of her sons had visited her in her dream, and I had to roll her over repeatedly for a better position or wipe her face because she couldn't stop crying, Tula cooked for the family. It nearly made me laugh whenever she reminded me to eat, considering how little she ate. No more than half the food on her plate, often less, despite my pleas for her to eat more. I worried about her weight. I worried about the fact that her bleeding hadn't started, though she had reached the age for it. I worried that her friends' breasts had grown past the size of oranges and hers weren't up to that of a cashew. The competition for men with potential to make great husbands was fierce in all the 8 villages, and Tula was at the age when girls needed to start sending signals and flaunting whatever wares they had. Her friends already had buttocks that men gaped at. Beside them, Tula looked like a child trailing her mother and aunts. Malabo loved to boast that, with her sublime eyes and abundant smiles, his daughter was going to grow up to become the most beautiful woman the 8 villages had ever seen. He said it even when Tula proved herself incapable of gaining weight. As a father, he could be blinded to certain things, but as a mother, I had a duty to stay attuned to all the challenges my daughter would encounter. Stunning as her face was, I could tell that her thinness and flatness, coupled with her impenetrable nature, would lessen her in the eyes of wife-seeking men. And there's, of course, a very traditional picture of men and women. Women grow up as girls, they become girls, they get the first menstruation, and then they have to sort of look out for a husband to make them pregnant and to make them mothers, because being a mother and a wife is so important. And then the role of widows is also described here very vividly by Boyle with the example of Sahel. But I don't want to stay here. I want to say that this has so much empathy for the characters, and you get so close to them, even if an African village in a fictitious African state is so far away from the world where I live and from all the experiences that I grew up with. But Imbolo Mbue has actually achieved her job, so to speak, to get me there and to connect to those villagers. And you become a villager, more or less. And this village has changed not only because of Paxton and because of that difficult and horrible fight that so many African villages, I guess, in so many African regions have fought against overpowering opponents that have exploited their countries, and to enhance our wealth in the Western countries and to destroy the living grounds for them. That this is not the only topic of the novel. There's so much more in this, and in the end, which I'm not going to reveal for you, Imbolo Mbue, sort of the children are in their last decade of their lives, as they say, and life has changed a lot, not only because Paxton has destroyed sort of the village and everything that is connected to it, but also that people have changed. The children and the grandchildren have changed. Today, in the year of 2020, she writes, 40 years since the night Conga told us to rise, our children have good jobs with our government, with corporations in Europe and America. They live in lovely houses. They drive new cars. They've given us grandchildren. Several of us have been to America. Our children buy us nice things to show their gratitude. And life has completely changed, and the grandparents don't understand anymore what the grandchildren sort of have for status symbols like smartphones and whatever they have, if they have sort of a normal, if they have achieved some kind of, but the stories are still vivid. The stories, the storytelling, there's also a very distinctive sign of this great, great book. the storytelling, I think the narrating, the oral tradition, the narrating of stories from one generation to the next is pretty strong. And in the end, I want to read you the last paragraph. So the final scene of the book is not a scene actually, but it's a moment when the children who are narrating large parts of the book are saying that sometimes they visit their children and their grandchildren in Besom, in America, in Europe, wherever those people are in the diaspora, sitting on a couch looking at the television, but actually not seeing it, dreaming of their old home in Kosava, in Lukunja, close to Lukunja, and thinking about people who were with them at the time. And the last sentence goes, it's at such moments that the children of our children come to us and say, please, Yaya, please, Big Papa, tell us a story. And this story is told by Imbolo Mbue, and what a powerful story it is. If you read one book in 2020, make it How Beautiful We Were by Imbolo Mbue. It's great work. I love it, really. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.